We're going to walk through how to set up our document for the Magazine Ready Photoshop project and some basic features of the Photoshop program for our friends who are new to the program. At the top of your window is a menu bar, like you might see in just about any program. A lot of the things that we use are here. There are definitely tabs that we spend more time in. We spend a lot of time in the Image and Edit tab and a little less time elsewhere. On the left of the screen is the toolbar. You have the choice to have this be a single row or column, or double. Okay, and that's just a matter of personal preference. So I'll leave mine as a single right here. But if you notice, all of the tools are the same. It just goes next to each other as opposed to in a single row. Okay. On the right-hand part of your screen are your palettes. So I have my layer palette out right now. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I do encourage you, as we go through this video, I will ask you to pause me in specific moments, and I want you to follow along with me so that you can create your document. So for right now, I would like you to find a file to open. So watch me do it first, and then pause me and go do it. So we'll File and Open, and then you're going to navigate and figure out where your things are. A lot of you are listening to me in computer art, so you're going to go to your desktop and either go to your computer where you have saved things perhaps in your S drive, or perhaps you've turned something in and you want to look at your graphics folder in my class. Okay, so just find something, whatever file. You should have a picture that is, that is close up, okay, that is nice and near your face, okay. Too far away won't work very well for this assignment. So go ahead and say open, and you'll be okay. All right, so here's my picture open. We're going to pause me, please, and go do that, and then come back. Okay, so now that you have a picture open, let's understand some basic features of the Photoshop screen. So this top section of our toolbar, okay, is our selection section. Okay, so there are several options here. Anytime you see a little triangle at the bottom of the tool, that means there are other things available. So not only can I make boxes, but I can make ellipses, single row, single column. Okay, so a selection means that it's going to pick one thing and not another. So let's say that I want to change the color in one particular area, and we're going to go ahead and have some fun and change my color a whole lot. So I could be feeling a little sick and perhaps be green or be purple, whatever is making my heart happy. Notice though that the color change is only happening inside that selection that I made. Okay, and that is what a selection does. If I, instead of selecting the box, I go to Select and Inverse, notice I have little marching ants around the whole outside as well. That means now everything except the box is being selected. So if I go right back to my color changing moment, see how everything except there is changing. Okay, so selections will be useful for all sorts of reasons. There are a couple of keyboard shortcuts we're going to talk about in this video. There are a lot available in the program, and not all of them that you need to know, but this is a handy one. So if I go up here to select, I can deselect by clicking here, and then it's telling me that next to this, Control plus D is going to deselect. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to hit the Control plus D to deselect. Okay, so let's do a selection together. Nice and easy. So find your rectangular marquee, and on your screen I want you to draw a box, and then I want you to, while you're drawing, I want you to hold the Shift key and then figure out what's happening. Okay, so pause me, go try making a rectangular marquee, and come back. Okay. Okay, so if you're back, you should have noticed that when I'm making a rectangular marquee, if I add Shift, it makes it a perfect square, no matter what I do, okay, no matter where my mouse goes, all right? And that'll be handy. That'll be something you'll want to know at some point. So under here, I also have the ellipse. Same thing can happen here. I can make ovals. If I add Shift, they become perfect circles, okay? Under the Marquee Tools are the Lasso tools. I have 3 available, regular lasso, polygon, and magnetic. Lassos are really handy for free-form, rough selections. Okay, if I want to make this area or maybe something even smaller, I'm going to Control D to deselect, and there I can have a smaller one. Okay. Under the regular lasso tool was polygon. Polygon's going to make straight edges, just like you would think a polygon would look like. Polygon can be a little frustrating because it will continue to make the selection until you either double click or return to the beginning. So if you notice when I come back to the start, I see that my tool is changing and it is adding a little circle. That is the symbol Photoshop is giving you about having it be at the beginning of a shape or closing a path, and that'll stop there. Okay, so Control D again to deselect. Magnetic lasso is trying to find the edge between pixels. So we're actually going to show you first, and then we're going to pause and talk about this pixel stuff. I can click to force those anchors to happen places. Magnetic lasso tool works the best though when it is a very clear difference between one color and another. And again, see there's that little circle to close back at the beginning. So Control T to deselect. I'm going to get my zoom tool. It's down here, magnifying glass, and I want you to look and see what happens as we get really close. So I'm just going to click, and we're going to get much closer to my face than anybody needs to be. Here we go. So as I get closer, do you see all these little squares? These are all pixels. So everything in Photoshop, no matter what it looks like, whether it looks like a curve or not, is all really made out of these little squares. And the more squares you have, the more pixels, the better quality. Also, the bigger the file is, so you have to be careful. Too many pixels can definitely be cranky. And so what that magnetic lasso tool was looking for was the difference of color between one area and another. Okay? All right, we have one more set of selection tools that you'll use. We're going to start with the older one first. So you might see Quick Selection up first and Magic Wand under. Magic Wand is the older. It's been part of the program since the very beginning. And what Magic Wand is doing is looking for pixels that are the same color. Okay, now we have some options up here. So I do want you to take notice at the top of your window that just below the menu bar, this keeps changing depending on what tool I'm using. So if I put my tolerance down and make this a small number, it will be much pickier about what it considers to be the same color. If I have a higher number, it's a lot more generous, and you can see it's selecting much bigger areas at a time. Notice right now it's selecting all over the place. That is because my contiguous button is not checked. Contiguous is another word for next door, and if this is selected, then only pixels that are touching will be selected. Okay, and then obviously if we're at a small number, then it gets really picky about what it will decide are the right colors. Okay, if I add Shift, I can add to my selection. See how pushing Shift is making a little plus sign on my screen? Okay, and that's going to increase, and I can continue to add to my selection. All right. Likewise, if I push the Alt key, now my tool has become a minus sign, so that's going to take away from my selection. Those are pretty similar. The Shift and Alt are going to be recurring themes. We're going to use that all over the place. I'm going to Control D to deselect, and we're going to talk about the last way that you can select, which is actually my favorite. It's the best tool so far that I have for you. The Quick Selection tool is going to give you a brush. We're going to talk about how to control that in a second. But the brush you can actually push around your document, and it does a pretty nice job of figuring out what it is that you're talking about and adding and removing. Notice it's got a plus sign right now. If I hold the Alt key, I can take away. So the default right here is that it's adding, but I can choose to remove if I want. Okay. I talked about how we can change the size of this brush. So up here at the top, there's a little number 50 on my case. Yours is probably a different number when you get to your program. I can make my size bigger or smaller here, but I have a couple of keyboard shortcuts that are going to be useful for you. If you can locate the letter P on your keyboard, go ahead and look for it right now. Immediately to the right of the P, the left bracket key makes a brush little, and the right bracket key makes it big. And that's true anytime we have anything that looks like a brush like this. Okay, I'm going to Control D to deselect. I would like you to pause me, and I want you to find the quick selection tool and practice making a selection on your keyboard, and also practice making your brush bigger and smaller by using the left and the right bracket key. Go ahead and pause me and come on back. Okay. So we've really covered a whole lot. We're going to pause this video, and then the next section is going to talk about how we can decide to do things on one part of our picture and not another. But to review, you have learned where some of the main features are of your program, and you've learned that you can choose to do any kind of action to one part of a picture but not another, and that is what a selection is about. We've also talked a second about pixels and what that means as far as file quality or resolution. In the next video, we're going to talk about how we're going to start actually editing this to make it look like it would in a magazine. All right, moving on to video 2.